All right, we're going to go through some old photographs with Bill so we can document his parents and grandparents and some of these old photos that we found in the closet. Hopefully we're going to go through more, but this is what I just found by accident. So I'm going to put it up on the screen and then he'll explain it.
My mother.
So that's my grandmother, Isabel, and she was born where, Dad?
Bayonne.
Bayonne, New Jersey. And did she do anything? She work or anything?
She worked in a 5 and 10, and that's where he saw her. And he went in and put the make on her.
So she worked at what we called 5 and Dime. Back then they called it 5 and 10. And that was like a convenience store that had like a little place where you could eat cheese, grilled cheeses and stuff, right? Okay.
And they try to keep all the stuff that's 5 cents and 10 cents. Like
Oh.
That's
So
how it was.
and now they call it like the dollar store. So it was an old version of the dollar store.
Yeah. Okay. Put that on again. The guy on the left, I think, is my father.
Yeah, we're thinking the one on the far left is Harry, my dad's father, my grandfather. So that was Harry. There is no date on that one, but that looks like he's a younger man in his 30s, perhaps, maybe.
Yeah. Late 20s, early 30s.
Late 20s, early 30s.
Well,
And he was born in Denmark?
no. Born in Jersey City.
Born in Jersey City, okay. So we're going to get into his parents because I think we have some stuff from his parents. I don't want to get my fingers in the way.
It's, they got the name on the background. Lillian and Walter Kohler.
That is backwards, you see that? It says Lillian and Walter Kohler, 1942, December. It's probably a Christmas picture. And who are they, Dad?
That's my aunt. That's my father's sister. She is, what, 5, maybe 10 years difference between her and my father. And then my other uncle is like 2 or 3 years difference. So there was a big spread. This is like what you call a cocktail baby.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, they have other names for that too.
Yeah.
So that's your dad's sister, and she's 5 years younger than him.
Yeah, at least.
Oh, there's 5 on it.
So that's Aunt Lillian. Where are you going, Ma? Oh, you're going over there? Okay.
I'm moving your chair a little.
Careful.
Yeah.
All right. This one's just Harry, my grandfather, and my dad's father, Harry Sorensen, who you said was born in Bayonne?
Yeah.
No, he was born in Jersey City.
Jersey City. I'm sorry. Your mom was Bayonne.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll reuse it.
All right.
This is neighbor
In Jersey City.
Jersey
During the war.
during World War II.
Yeah, same thing.
This one's really interesting. This one is really old.
Oh, shoot. Oh, that's Grandma Sorensen.
My grandfather's mom, who was in fact born in Denmark.
Water, okay?
That would be your great grandmother.
What do you remember of her?
Oh, she was such a charmer. I mean, she was very, I don't know what you want to say. I mean, ideal grandmother.
Ideal grandmother. Born in Denmark. She probably had to speak Danish, right?
Yeah,
Was English her second language? Did she come over?
yeah. She talked good English, very good English, and she would teach us some different words in Denmark.
Danish.
Talk for ma, thank you for the meal.
And when do you think she came over? You have any idea what year it might have been or how old she was?
Oh, I have to back to my father's time and go forward. I don't know. I'm guessing, if I was guessing, it'd probably be in the 20s.
Wow.
That's, you know, you take my father, I think my father is the same age as a dad that I was. I was 24, became a father. When I became a father, I think he was pretty much the same thing. So if you take 24 years back from 35, so you got to be at least there because, 24 from 35.
11?
Yeah, that would be, might be the time they came over.
Wow.
At least.
Well,
At least.
Beverly Edwards.
That's my wife's niece.
Your wife's niece?
My mother's niece.
Mother's niece, right.
And it was from the same dad as my mother's. Edwards was one of the ones that she married, and I think it was the last one. I think Ethel was, her father was Suchuk, and I can't remember the other name of the guy that was involved. But there was a third guy, and they all died from different diseases that were common at that time.
And so you're saying it was your grandmother who was married 3 times, one
Yeah.
of their
Yeah.
children from one of those
I
marriages.
think she had a total of 13 kids.
Wow. We think that this is Bill as a kid.
Yeah.
This is this guy right here. This is another shot of Bill's father, Harry.
Yep.
Now Harry worked for Esso. He was an engineer.
No. He worked in sheet, he wanted to say covering it all, was described as the sheet metal industry. And he was like a general manager at this place that made things of heavy steel. And Shell Petroleum came in and said they wanted them, he wanted to bid to make this device, which was a crane that put the oil line on the boats to extract oil.
That one man could operate that they said couldn't be done, and he invented that in your garage.
What he did was he fooled around down the cellar for seemingly forever. He would take an Edison radio and a beer and a shot, and he'd be down and he'd go into the cellar and he'd start making these things. And then finally he went to Exxon. Oh, he went back to Shell. What was it called? Shell wasn't called Shell.
It wasn't Esso?
No. What happened was he went back to them and said, I think it's called Asiatic Petroleum, I don't know. It's the big name covering Shell. And said, look, if you make this improvement and that improvement, you're going to get this advantage, that advantage. He had built the thing on basically 3 advantages over what they were giving him to make. And they said, look, we gave you the plans, make what you're supposed to make. So then my dad went back, got everything ready, and found out how difficult it was to get a patent. So he went ahead and got the local lawyer to write out an agreement, and then he got his plans submitted for a patent. And once he got the patent, Exxon jumped on with an offer. And at the time, it was big money because they were going to give him $50,000 over 4 years. So they gave him 10, and whatever it came out to be. After that all happened, one day he gets a check in the mail for Exxon, and there's a check. And he said, this isn't right, it's not mine. So he calls Exxon and says, you overpay me. They said, no, that's your, what do you call it?
Residual?
Yeah, that's, and the deal you made with us is that you were going to get paid money.
Did I turn something on?
That's right. Well, yeah, you're going to get paid money as your commission or whatever. And
No canary?
the sales exceeded what
Oh,
we've
okay,
already
okay.
paid.
I got it.
And so every
Oh.
quarter, he was getting checks.
Right, a commission kind of
Yeah.
thing?
And that's how
Oh,
he
yeah,
gave,
this side.
at Christmas time,
Oh.
he gave out checks to
Oh.
every way to the end of Christmas time given, and then he would sit there with his envelopes,
Yeah.
and we would get 3,000,
Yeah.
5,000.
I remember that.
And that one, we put it into a Scholastic fund.
Right.
So that was that.
But he liked the drink.
Oh yeah, he was. Excuse me. He was a typical steel worker.
Oh, there you go. And that was in, I keep thinking Bayonne, but it's not. Do you know where he was a steel worker?
Yeah, excuse me. I get caught in the back of my throat, damn it. He was working in a steel yard in Bayonne.
It was Bayonne.
We lived in Cranford.
All right, this one says, heading home on Lufthansa, Bill and Jack, Paris, February 1957. This is Dad when he was in the Marine Corps. Heading home from Paris. There you go. And you were stationed in Germany, right, Frankfurt, or am I wrong on that?
Well, I originally was stationed in Poland.
Poland, I'm sorry.
This
This is my dad's aunt, I believe, from
her sister. His sister.
his sister.
That's his sister. There were three.
Right.
There was
That's, when I said
Lillian.
my dad's aunt, it's your aunt.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's Bill's aunt, but Harry's sister,
Yeah.
Harry Sorensen. And
Yeah. Well, let me see the heads. Maybe I can identify the kids.
that looks like her husband, isn't it?
No, I don't think he was there now. See, for Christmas time, we would have Christmas at my grandmother's house and Christmas Eve. And my aunt lived with her, so that when we had dinner and got all the kids were wanting to open presents, she would be there as the organizer, giving
Oh,
out the presents.
the master of ceremonies
Yeah.
during Christmas. That was your Aunt Lillian, right?
Yep.
That's Aunt Lillian. Very attractive lady. She was
Yeah, pictures.
a real heartbreaker. And she, what did you say, breast cancer? She died of breast cancer?
Yeah.
This is Bill as a child. Bill as a child. I believe Bill as a child. Bill as a child.
I'm glad it was a child.
Bill as a child, right? Bill as a child. Now, you as a child, what do you remember when you were 10? Anything in specific, Dad? Anything crazy happened when you were 10?
The Cub Scouts, you had to be 9 to join, so I was in the Cub Scouts. And it was pretty easy life.
No traumatic thing? You had a pretty good childhood?
Yeah, oh, great.
And what was your mom like? Was she a nurturer? Was she stoic? My impression was she was very stoic.
Yeah, she was, and she always threatened me with, wait until your dad comes home.
And then would he hit you with a belt or
No,
anything?
chances are she'd forget it, but it was an idle threat that always came up.
Right, but
Whenever
put the fear of God in you.
Yeah, whenever I did something wrong and she feels she wasn't in control, she
Right.
reached out by threatening.
Atypical.
Yeah.
Now the sports, were you playing sports then? Did you start with your hockey career then, or?
No, nothing. No, I just playing in the street, nothing.
In Cranford.
Yeah. Let's see, what time here? We moved out to Cranford in 45. I would have been 10 years old, yeah, when we moved to Cranford. God, finally my throat is clear.
Good, thank you. He'll explain it, but this is a vacation with my aunt sitting by the 60 sign, my grandmother by the 60 sign, my grandfather whose face is cut off,
Yeah.
and they were going to Maine, as my dad recalls. How he
Yeah.
remembers that?
Because they were amazed at the speed limit. Everywhere else had been 50 or 55. And when you went to Maine, it was 60. So that's what they were showing off, was the fact that speed limits in Maine were the highest, and they were 60, versus the rest of the country, I think 50 was the maximum.
And so do you remember anything about that car, what year it was?
No.
Nothing about that car?
Yeah.
I'm sure with some research we could find out because it looks pretty classic, obviously. The old man's got the style on. He's got the cup jeans and...
The license number. Let's compare the license numbers today.
Yeah, yeah. This is my dad's mom, Isabel, and she's baling hay. What was she doing baling hay?
My uncle had a farm upstate New York called a place called Pine Bush, and he and his wife were operating. It wasn't really a big deal. It was just a little bit above gentleman farming, but because he was working, he had a business, plumbing business. So he and my aunt would then work the farm. And at that point, they got it big enough where they had a hired hand that came in and took care of cows. They must have had about 20 milking cows. And he sold the milk, of course, to a wholesaler. And it was pretty interesting how that whole thing works with the milking machines and all that. And I was up there probably about 3 or 4 of my summers. I would go up there because they had a daughter, Jerry. My cousin was 6 months older than me. And so they were looking for me to go up there and fit in as kind of a playmate. And it worked out pretty good. My parents would take me up in the beginning of the summer. I'd spend my time on the farm. And I'd try to help, as a 10, 11, 12-year-old, do whatever I could.
So was your mom actually helping
Yeah,
with the
yeah,
hay?
they-
She
they-
actually worked. This isn't
Oh, yeah, well,
like a photo op to make her look like that.
No. They were out there loading the hay wagon. Good chance there was a rain coming and they were trying to beat it. So, no, they took it down and they had a machine that put it up in the silo or up in the roof over where the cows were. Because I remember you'd go in the wintertime into where the cows were, and it's warm and toasty as can be because of all the hay on the top that were, we want to say, almost fermenting, and that generated heat. And they had a door that they would open up, and the hay would come down, and then they would spray it in front of the cow stalls. They had all the cows in wintertime, they had them locked in a stall. So they would be laying there and they'd be eating whatever. And every once in a while, I don't know whether it was daily, but they'd put them outside and they would clean all the business that they did and bring them back in. And the cow knew which stall was his.
Huh.
They'd go in and they'd lock that thing around his neck.
Right.
A wooden collector or whatever.
This is the family of obviously Harry, Bill, and Isabel. I don't know if he knows any background on this one.
Gee, this looks like it was before Karen.
Yeah. And the age difference between you and your little sister?
5.
5 years between Aunt Karen and Bill, who passed away in, remember what year?
No, I tell you what, we see it all the time when we go to the cemetery with Art, but I can't. I think somewhere downstairs there's a memorial card with the dates.
That's okay. So she died of degenerative brain Pick's disease, is that the name of it?
Yeah.
This is slow, excruciating, unfortunate situation with that.
It kind of paralyzed Alzheimer's.
Oh. And her husband, Art, really took great care of her. And we couldn't be more appreciative for what Art did for her and what he's contributing to us now. So, Art Summers. This is obviously my dad's young family when he was a child. It was the family shot.
Oh yeah.
It's a beauty.
That's probably an Easter. That's probably
An Easter picture.
Yeah, it's an Easter picture. If you can look at the headgear on my sister,
Right.
my mother, And the fact that I think, if you can see it, I'm in knickers usually.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, can you
He's got a
see
nice cap on. What do they call those hats?
it? Fedora.
He had a fedora on, like Frank Sinatra. Didn't he wear those?
Uh,
Now, this is a question I don't know the answer to. Religious leanings.
Protestant.
Did they go to church or no?
On occasion, you know.
And was that a Danish thing? Were most Danes?
No. We were Lutheran, and Lutheran is very strong German, Danish religion.
But non-practicing by all stretch.
No, not like your mother. No.
There's my dad's mug. Looks like he's squinting all the time. Looks like you were squinting all the time. A lot of sun in those shots, I guess. This one is kind of interesting.
Oh, that's the lady, the aunt, and her husband, who was named after. Her husband's name is Bill, so it was my dad's older brother, and these two owned a farm that we made reference to, and this, I believe, I don't think that's
The
my
little
sister.
blonde-haired girl, we're not sure whether it's a cousin or a
I
sister.
think it's a cousin.
Yeah.
That would be too far advanced. See, she was
Yeah.
6 months older than me, so you can't. And my sister was 5 years younger, so
This looks
that
young,
is-
way younger than you, than older than you.
No, I don't think.
Was
it's
she a
Karen.
towhead blonde, your sister?
Karen was for
Yeah.
a long time.
And that dog, you said you knew the name of the dog?
Gypsy.
Gypsy. What do you remember of Gypsy? Anything?
It was their house dog. They went through, they'd go through a normal dog's life and have a dog pet on the farm. And
Oh, so it's the farm dog. The dog.
yeah, well, Gypsy wasn't really. Gypsy came more or less from there, going from a residential. They lived in Englewood, and he worked as a salesman in Sears and Roebuck, selling plumbing supplies or whatever.
Right.
Toilets, all that kind of stuff. And he left that to go up to this farm that her parents owned. And that's when they started in. He started a plumbing business. They started working on the property, and that's how they lived. And so then they got into dogs that were more active and more into the farmer life.
Right.
That dog is a resident, a house dog.
Right.
And the other dogs, they had one dog called Patty, and it had such a scent that you could take a piece of coal, mark it in your own way, but throw it into the coal bin, and that scent would go.
Go through all the coal and find the one that
Yeah,
had the scent on it.
His name was
So the
Patty.
hound dog.
Yeah, Patty.
All right, you ready?
Yeah.
This one looks really interesting. Now, the other pictures we did for Dad, he looked at them ahead of time, and then he reviewed them again. This time we're just hitting them like fresh. He's just going to be seeing these for a long time, so all the memories are just going to come back to him.
I can't get to see it. Okay, that's me with my aunt Lillian's wedding, and I was a ring bearer. And they had a military wedding because my uncle Coley
Mary,
was in the
there you
Navy.
go. Oh my
So
God.
he had
It's gonna
they
be
had
hard.
the wedding as a military. It was during the war, and
World War II.
yeah.
Whoa, thank you.
And my cousin and I were ring bearers. We walked down the aisle with a pillow with a pin in it, and
Right. As a
I
ring
had-
back, yeah.
I guess I had his ring, and she had my aunt's ring. But anyway, that was the gear they got me for it.
That's right. I thought maybe it was a Cub Scout thing.
No, that's what that was.
Oh, who's that?
That's
Bill?
Bill.
That's
That was
I
really
performed.
good boy.
I performed as
I didn't put up a big glass.
in a wedding
A ring bearer.
ring bearer.
Now it's like, I think, isn't it little girls now? No offense.
That's my high school yearbook picture.
High school year, but what do you remember of, this is from Cranford, class of?
53.
Class of 53, and you played hockey.
Yeah,
For how many years did you play hockey?
3 or 4.
3 or 4 years. And this is with the old school equipment and everything else. Goalies didn't have face masks, that's for sure. And what position did you play?
Defense.
He was a defenseman.
Let me see that, Russ. That's one of the times I had a crew cut.
So, and how big was your class? Do you remember? Was it a big class? Was your school big?
Maybe 175 graduated.
And how did your team do?
Well, we got killed all the time.
I don't mean to laugh.
No.
I wasn't expecting that. I was
No.
hoping that you guys were champions
No,
or something.
because Cranford was the only high school with a hockey team. And what we did was we played private boarding schools where the kids were going for hockey. You know, Pingree was one of our competitors, and Country Day School and Woodlawn, and they were all geared up more for we were hockey.
Yeah.
Because we were sporting
right?
basketball
Is it
and
good?
all the other
It's
sports.
sweet,
So,
right? Yeah.
you know, we weren't anywhere near up to the capabilities. Maybe we'd win a game or two, but not much.
And so with that gear back then and everything going on, did you get pucks in the face? Did you get injured a lot? Was it rough?
It was, you know, it was just,
Were they dropping the gloves a lot when you were playing?
no.
No fights, you'd get ejected? There was,
No.
But they had penalties with the penalty
Oh,
box?
yeah.
And your ice, was that your high school or you had a rink around?
No, we had to go down to Princeton and play in a place called Baker's Ring, and we had limited time. We would go at 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning.
Whoa.
Because that's the only
The only time you could play.
ice was available.
Wow. And they have a Zamboni, an old Zamboni back then?
Oh yeah, well they supplied Princeton, kept up the ice, and I don't know what they charged us schools to use it, but we used to have problems getting in there because we never had enough cars. And when you look back on it, it was pretty dangerous because we'd have 2 or 3 guys in the trunk.
That's
They
funny.
did what they had to do.
Yeah, right? There you go. So, was that the only sport you played?
No, I played baseball.
And
And I
position? What
played-
position did you play at baseball?
I was a pitcher, and then I played I played hockey. No, I played soccer.
Whoa, you played soccer?
Soccer, yeah, because the coach of the soccer team was my biology teacher, and I was having trouble passing, so I joined his soccer team.
And were you pretty good at it? Were you?
Yeah,
I mean,
I was pretty-
you consider yourself one of the premier
Well,
players?
we had maybe two kids that had moved over from Italy and places like that.
Oh, cool.
And I played middle linebacker. At that time, it was a forward linebacker and defense, and I played like in the middle on defense, middle all the time. And I enjoyed it. It was fun.
So you enjoyed all those sports, and
Oh, yeah.
what about anything else? Did you guys have like, I don't know, sock hops, and you'd go to these dances, and
Oh, yeah.
was that another thing that
They
was
had dances at
entertainment?
They had dances at the American Legion. We used to have where different classes would sponsor the dance to accumulate funds for the class, class stuff that would go on.
Right.
And then at the end of the year, you take the money and you make a contribution to something that the school needed.
Right.
So
Fundraisers.
yeah, we had fundraisers, and they were to contribute to the class until the end, and then whatever was left, it would go to something that would benefit the school. One thing that was interesting about our class was that we were the first class where the parents made a big effort to keep us from going on the highway after the prom. And they brought in, what the heck was his name? Some renowned band. And that's who we had for our prom.
Oh wow.
But it was the first time they ever did that. And it pretty well succeeded. I think they do the same thing now. What was happening in the past was the guys would go to the prom, and then they get involved with booze, and they were taking we were going down the shore for the next day.
And the shore was Point Pleasant?
Yeah.
Okay.
The shore is Point Pleasant and in that whole area, but had a lot of wrecks. Guys.
I was going to ask about that, about
well, that was the main reason for this effort to upgrade the band and keep us there longer.
Oh, wow, interesting.
Yeah.
That was the question I was going to lean into. That is the dirt that, obviously proliferates in high school, which alcohol abuse back then, it wasn't marijuana, obviously, or anything else. It was just alcohol, which is to be understood.
Well, see,
go ahead.
When we were growing up, our drinking age was 21.
Oh, wow.
However, you could go over to Gotham's Bridge, and that was into New York, and it was 18.
Right.
So we used to get together and go over to New York.
Right, sure.
And get bombed. And then,
I'll drive back.
no, the funny part about it was that we'd take the ferry coming back, and we'd have peeing contests off the back of the boat.
Public ferry around the back. Yeah. Were there any, do you remember any casualties, people dying from drunk driving or anything like that, or any trauma? I mean, your class have any?
We had a couple, but I can't remember who they were. I never was involved with one.
But you didn't lose any friends or classmates that you remember?
One guy got smashed up pretty good, but of course he went on to recover, and then he went on to the Naval Academy.
Oh, wow.
And was one of their star basketball players. His name was Bob Albertson.
Wow.
And he was good for the Naval Academy. Then he graduated and he went into the Air Force. And he was flying big MATS planes. And then he just recently died.
All right, so the next question is, again, we're getting into murky waters here. Any teen pregnancies? Anybody knocking up some chicks? And what became of that? It must have been majorly taboo, and then the girls were sent away. There was no birth control back then. I'm sure the hormones are still rocking out.
I can't see what would probably happen is if one of them it was not of our clique. We had cliques.
Right.
In my clique, we're all college bound and parents worked for big jobs at Exxon.
So you stayed abstinent?
Most of that happened at people that you didn't frequent, and then they would do is they'd leave school. And you really didn't even know what was going on.
They would just vanish.
Yeah, they would just.
Now that, again, murky waters.
Yeah.
Condoms? Were there condoms back then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Very definitely.
Now, this is something I'm interested in. Hashmi, I apologize for this next part, but it was a part of my dad's youth, which is the racist issue.
The what?
The racist issue.
Yeah.
So my dad explained to me that he had some problem with some black kids beating him up, and I remember that distinctly. So, if he could let us know.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Well, what happened was that I was being raised in Jersey City, and I did not know about black people, that there was a difference. And then when we moved to Cranford, there was a few guys in my class, but they had been left behind. Most of the blacks that I grew up with were 2 or 3 years older than me. And I'd get challenged by them if they wanted my pen.
Right.
I'll take my pen. We're going to get you.
Right.
And I got the shit kicked out of me more than once.
Right.
Because I tried to fight them and they were.
Right. You were outmatched.
They were shaving. I was 4th and 5th grade. So.
But I also heard stories that, I don't know how true this was, back in those days, they walked on one side of the street and the whites walked on the other side, so there wouldn't be a.
It wasn't that bad.
Not that bad?
No, it was.
It wasn't in this area. I think in the southern area, the south.
Yeah, but I heard them talk about it once.
Right?
For the most part, we mixed pretty good because of sports.
Right.
They were good in sports.
Absolutely.
And they helped our team. And our team guys fell right in place.
Sure.
But there was this other element
Right.
where they eventually would quit school, but they had been left behind, and then when you're in there competing them against them,
Yeah.
you had no. It's almost like
So the age differential, because they were left behind so
Oh,
many
yeah.
times. They're
Oh,
3
yeah.
years older than you, and they're dominating you
well,
physically.
their body was further advanced.
Yeah, that's true too. Yeah. All right, we'll move into some more pictures. I don't know what this is about. I'm sure it's kind of weird. It says here, Cranford fire evacuees, elderly occupants
okay.
of Cranford nursing
What
home.
happened was that a nursing home caught fire, and I was older than when that happened, and we went to the.
Good job, Mary.
It was an old ladies' home, and we went up there, and they were having all kinds of problems, so we got involved, like carrying out old ladies.
Oh wow!
Yeah, we went in and
Wow!
picked them up, and
You saved them. You saved their
Oh,
lives. You were
I guess-
lifesavers.
I guess so. but,
Nice.
uh,
Nice. This looks like Cabana. There's a lot of shots of Cabana. Cabana's in Bricktown, where Granddad lived, or am I way off?
No, they bought a house, and this is when he started going down the shore on a regular basis,
Right.
and they were looking to buy a house down there, and this was the house they bought.
It was on Cabana Drive in
Cabana, I think it
Bricktown.
was 39 Cabana Drive,
Okay.
and he went ahead, and of course he changed everything out. The thing that sold him on this was that it had another lot
Right.
that
You had
went
two
with the
lots.
house. So he bought that,
And he built the bulkhead and all that, because I saw the construction
Yeah.
of that.
Yeah,
So that was like, after he made his invention and he had some money, he invested in his dream place.
Well, they were preparing for their retirement because he liked to go crabbing and fishing.
And that was the crappy boat, right? You didn't like that boat with the
No, this
flying
was-
bridge?
No, this was good.
That was the good
He
one?
didn't like it because it was difficult on a windy day to handle it. And he was up so high that he had difficulty coming down and tying on. So that was the thing that hurt this boat. It was a twin screw, and one of the engines needed repair.
Right.
So that's when he went off and bought that little boat. And then he had a lot of problems with
Right.
the little boat because it was over torqued. And
Right.
he went ahead and sent the thing back to the manufacturer, and what the hell is that?
This same, there's all pictures of Cabana. There's a lot of Cabana. The building of the bulkhead and everything else. I don't want to get too deep
Yeah.
into that. But he would go out crabbing and
Yeah, crabbing.
fishing,
And
and
the
he had a CB radio, and he'd
That
go
was
back and
funny,
forth with
was
Isabel.
that my mother would be at home, and she had the CB radio, and he did. And she would, babe, what happened with my mother and contacting my father when we went fishing? Remember that? Harry, calling Harry. I think every guy would jump in and say, that's not the proper way to work it. And that
I
was
don't
her.
care, I want Harry.
Yeah, she called, Harry, where are you, Harry?
It was like the official way. It was like Breaker,
Yeah,
Harry,
yeah.
Sorensen.
Yeah.
Are you out there?
I still got the
What's your
radio.
1020? That kind of crap.
Yeah, I got
Yeah.
I still got the radio downstairs.
I don't think Dad has any info on this, unfortunately, but it's a classic. So this is lost to history.
Yeah.
That Model T.
That one, I don't know who we.
See how old that one is with the Model T in there. You get that Model T in any color as long as it was black. This looks like some sort of chimney. I don't know if this is anything remotely valuable.
Oh, that's the front of this house, I think.
In front of what house?
Oh, no. Take it back. This is a fireplace he made at 49 Mansion Terrace.
Him being Harry, your dad.
Yeah, he built this whole fireplace.
Wow.
And that's what he used whenever we would have picnics or whatever.
Oh, I remember that. How funny is that? It was a grill.
Yeah.
Yeah, stone grill in the back of yard of Cranford. How funny is that I remember that? But I do remember that. This is another. Go ahead, Hashima.
Excuse me, Bill. You still using the
Coffee,
covers?
yeah, that's good.
Oh, okay, all right.
Everything's
Just-
fine, thank
I just
you.
want to get everything inside the washing
Yeah,
machine.
no.
I think this is the same guy. I don't think it's the same picture.
Oh, we're getting a little closer. Looks like a military guy with.
Yeah.
That might be that guy that was my godfather,
Oh,
Joe Machen.
and you said he died in
He got
Italy?
killed in Anzio beachhead.
Oh, wow.
They were making an invasion into Italy, and he got nailed.
Oof.
And my dad was pissed because he had suffered a wound
Whoa.
few weeks before, but they pushed him back in,
Oh.
and then he got killed.
Oh.
So they were tight.
Oh.
They were tight.
Oh. This is another mystery woman.
Okay, this was Joe Mation's
Oh.
sister.
Wow.
That's his sister.
Wow.
He had two sisters, Marie and Gladys, and that was Marie.
Okay, this one looks more contemporary, a newer Volkswagen. I'm sure it's my dad in the military, but he's going to tell us. Oh, there's actually writing on the back.
Yeah, this I bought over in Germany. Well,
Frankfurt.
yeah, originally I was supposed to be going from Poland to Denmark because they only want to keep you in a what do they call it, a hostile territory. See, the thing was the trip on embassy duty typically was 2 years, but when you got into hostile situations, they pull you out after a year.
Right.
So I was in Poland, which was run by the Russians.
Oh, wow.
So I was going to be pulled out, and the Russians, the Poles had an uprising called the Poznań Fair. And when I was supposed to go to Denmark, where they had saved me a position on their staff, our ambassador said, "You're not leaving because I don't want you guys to be changed in the middle of all this crap
Right.
that was going on."
Right.
So I got stuck in Poland. But in the meantime, I had put in an order for that Volkswagen in Denmark.
Oh, wow.
And so it was delivered at a dealer in Denmark. And then when I never got
How much?
sent
Do you remember how much?
I want to say 1,500. But,
And you were just going to use it as a temporary ride while you were there?
well, to me, it was almost an investment because that was a pretty good car.
And you'd resell it while you were there?
No, I brought it home.
You brought it home from Frankfurt?
Yeah, I was using that for damn near a year.
They shipped it back on a boat?
Yeah, the
Oh,
government paid
Wow.
for it.
Oh, wow. There you go.
Impressive.
Right?
It is. And the interesting part about that Volkswagen,
Oh.
that Volkswagen was one of those ones that had, when you
Germany?
yeah, but when you had a turn signal,
Yeah.
a flipper would come out.
No kidding.
Yeah, a flipper
Wow.
would
That's so
come
cute.
lighting which direction you were taking.
It's got some serious white
That's
walls on it.
funny.
1957 is the date. The writing on the back says, "Coming back from the commissary."
And that's the end of my tour over there. So I had to drive that up to
That's cute.
Bremerhaven.
All right, well, we got some going back in time here.
Beautiful car.
Too bad we don't have it now.
You know that Volkswagen, I had that, I think, for almost 2 years, and I sold it at a profit.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah. On those days, they were
Yeah, the
cars.
kids loved them because they'd go use them, and they were good in snow, and they'd go to their ski trips.
Oh, well. I think this is Bill as a kid. Maybe he has some memories of this.
Oh yeah, that's me.
Another one of Bill at his.
I don't know where this was, because the surroundings are like I'm almost in a swamp or something.
This is at your. What'd you say? Was your aunt or your uncle's farm? Rest
Yeah.
on the cow.
That was my uncle and aunt's farm,
Right.
and that was a little calf they had, and I had to go tie it up, and obviously the calf wasn't too happy about it.
This looks like Isabel. Maybe we'll get some background to this with Isabel.
This is Isabel, but it may be pre-built. I don't know. Obviously, they've got a picnic going. You can see the beer on the table. Yeah, that's my mother.
Yeah.
Time period, I don't know. It looks like it might have been before me because she looks so skinny.
Yeah,
and
she looks
young.
like I mean, with the table, it looks like a picnic's being set up.
Yeah.
This one, I don't think Dad's gonna know, but stranger things have happened. This one's super weird.
Oh, this was that guy Joe Machin,
Oh, really?
and he was babysitting us.
Oh, wow. Fell asleep while he's babysitting you.
Yeah,
Sleep
yeah.
on duty. Was he drinking?
I thought, I don't know. My father come home. You're supposed to be looking out for my kids, and look at you. That's my godfather.
Your godfather, who would later be killed in action. Let's see. I'm starting to surprise me with some of these.
Oh, these are excuse me. I can't remember that kid's name. This guy's name is Dick Choice.
Left Dick Choicey, right Al Hawley,
Yeah, okay.
Connecticut and New Jersey.
Yeah, what it was they were two Marines. There was like, I want to say 8 Marines working 2 buildings in Frankfurt, Germany. And we had 2 apartments with 4 Marines in each of them. And we had 2-bedroom apartments. The apartment was for 2 beds, for a total of 4. And Choicey was my roommate, and Holly was in the other bedroom with another guy, shared another bedroom. And we were in a building that was owned and operated by the State Department. And they had given us maids. So we had a maid
Wow.
that would take care of this, feed us, do all the, laundry, whatever. And she had an apartment upstairs, and then she was getting paid, but we would chip in to give her more. And I want to think of what her name was, but she was a good girl. She was, a middle-aged woman, and okay, this one's pretty easy. This is the trip that you saw me coming back from in France. And that's the driver. And the other guy is a guy named Dick Ridgewood, I think. He worked, what was it?
February 57, Bill, Jack, and Jim, Andre the taxi driver,
Okay.
top of the Eiffel Tower.
Yeah, that's right. We got into his taxi and said, how much would it take for you to be our
Chauffeur?
our tour guide?
Oh,
And
okay.
he came up with a number, and we said, great, you're on. And we went around, and that's when he took us to the top of the Eiffel Tower. He took us all over, and it worked out great.
Oh, wow. This is our neighbors in Warren that have a relationship by coincidence with our family, George and Ethel Hall.
Yeah, that's George and Ethel, and I don't know.
How we got that old photo of them is...
I don't know. They had 2 daughters,
Janet?
Margaret and Janet.
Right.
Margaret was the older. Margaret had a real problem with weight. Janet was sharp as could be.
They used to babysit us as kids. Janet did.
Yeah, Janet died of a brain tumor.
Oh.
She married a guy whose last name was Cipolla, and his family was very big in Cranford.
Oh, wow.
And his uncles all were big football players, and so Janet married one of their family, and he was an engineer, and he went to work for a company that specializes in designing hospitals, and so he moved from here to the corporate office in St. Louis, and that's where we went out once and we visited him. We were on our way to a golf camp, your mother and I,
Oh, wow.
and we stopped in and visited with them. And they were very.
How did they manage to be next door neighbors to us? Was it just
well,
coincidence,
no,
or?
What happened was this: we were we were in Pittsburgh, and I got transferred to New Jersey. While we were in Pittsburgh,
What company? Graco or?
no, it was a company called Joseph Dixon, It was a manufacturer of graphite pieces of
Oh,
foundry equipment, and there were also the
Dixon pencils, no?
yeah, they were. Yeah,
Okay.
it was Dixon Pencil Division, and we were there, and they were moving me back to New Jersey. And at the time, in Pittsburgh, we had accumulated a sum of money to buy a house, and we were going around evaluating houses when they came down with this transfer, and it was a tough one because the dollars we would spend in Pittsburgh got you so much more house, and your mother had her eyeballs on a house with a slate entry and all this other stuff, and then when we come back to here, that was way out of the financial picture. And I came back a few times looking for a house, and nothing really was fitting into the budget. And then I remember Paul was into real estate, so they were distant second cousin because, like I said, her mother was one of the ones from another
From
father
your great grandmother, your grandmother.
that had 3 husbands.
Right, your grandmother.
This was one of the other husband's daughter.
Right.
But my mother and her used to share summers. They lived in Fort Lee, New Jersey, and my sister would go up there. My mother, would go up there and share the summer. So they were kind of close, and so I remember they were in real estate. So, Chris, well,
All right, so this is another old house of Isabel, and it looks like you as a kid.
oh, okay, I know what it is. 1 or 2 summers for vacation, they rented a house in Keensburg.
Whoa.
You know where that is? On the way down the shore? It's
Yeah.
where they have that
They had an amusement
ammunition.
park.
No, well, they do, but they also have the ammunition place where the boats would pull in during the war, and they'd be loaded with ammunition to go off the war. So it's called Keensburg, and they rented that a couple of 3 years, and it was there for maybe 2 weeks
So
of
what,
summer.
I mean, what was the draw of that? You go there and watch the
Because-
boats come in and out?
No, they had a beach.
Oh, all
They
right.
had a beach.
Oh, okay.
They also had amusement rides.
Oh, okay. I don't know why I thought it was inland.
Keensburg is down around North Amboy.
Another shot of Dad in the military, strapping young man. Dry Monday, Kurtz Gassitimius.
Oh.
So that's a note for you to remember, because that looks like you in Frankfurt.
Yeah, what this is this was the hangout that we used to go in, our Marine Corps group. Used to be our hangout, and it was a German pub. We would sit there and play with the dice to see who would pay for the drink. You know, where you put 4 dice in a cup and you shake it, and if you had like 3 6s on the first roll, you'd say, "That's it, I'll take that." Then the other guys would have to beat that. Of course, the other way they could beat it is get 4 of a kind.
Oh, so it's like a
This
poker hand.
Yeah.
I got it.
Dry Monday, Kurtz, yeah.
This one's a kind of arty one as far as the composition, and the car is super cool in this one. Obviously, I'm going to be stating the obvious. It looks like your mom Isabel on the left and perhaps your aunt on the right.
Oh,
Could that be a Keens, the beach there?
could be, Rob. But that looks like a Pontiac to me.
Looks like a cool car.
Yeah.
Looks like a really cool car.
Yeah, that looks like. I don't know who the hell the woman would
Looks
be.
super cool.
One
I
was
mean, it looks
my-
like water out there too. I mean, it looks like it's right on
One
the
is
water.
Definitely my mother.
I don't
And
know.
who the other person
We're gonna-
is. See, sometimes we'd go with another family and they'd split all the I forget her. You know what? That might be the other girl. What did I tell you?
There's no name on the back.
Yeah, that might. Marie, and what was her name? Gladys. That might be Gladys Machen, who was the sister of my father's, the guy that got killed.
Oh, okay.
And that's the other sister.
Okay.
See, he was kind of looking out for him. And they'd be over the house having dinner, whatever. And then they had,
Okay.
I forget who the hell the mother was. I forget.
I thought that this next picture was a part of this picture, and Dad will answer that. And this picture is another beach shot. But on the back, there's writing on it that says Seabright, 1955.
Okay, that's the dock of that was the name of it. Was Chris's Landing. Chris's Landing is the name of it, and this is a place that had. If you look around, there's all kinds of boats. They're there to be rented, and this is where we used to go out crabbing. We'd rent one of those boats, and Dad would put his 5 horsepower Mercury, and he would go out amongst the islands down there in Seabright.
So
Well,
when you
he
say
knew where
so when
he-
you say five horsepower Mercury, was it a wrist turn, or what? Did it have a steering wheel? I mean, was it
No, it was wrist turn and it was pull the cord.
pull the cord? So it was a little bit bigger than a dinghy.
Very, yeah, it wasn't the big one.
This is another Jersey Shore picture of Point Pleasant. Your mom, very classic picture.
Yes, well, it's probably,
Point Pleasant.
yeah, this is, pretty much in the wintertime, and it's on the boardwalk.
The home of Jersey Mike's.
Yep. That looks like it might have been an Easter picture.
That's the knickers he's talking
Yeah,
about.
that's the knickers.
That's awesome.
And the fedora hat, and that was the,
It's a classic.
yeah, that's,
Who was the golfer's name that died in that plane crash?
uh,
Not Curtis Strange. It was, and they have a statue of him in front of this golf course there.
yeah. He used to dress in the colors of the local football teams, the professional football teams, which was close to where they were.
Payne
playing.
Stewart.
Payne Stewart is
Payne
right.
Stewart.
Yep.
Here's the old man with a golf club. I don't know anything about this, but it looks like a golf club. Let me see. Practicing golf on the Frank lawn, Frankfurt, 1957.
Oh, okay.
Working on your swing in Frankfurt.
Yeah.
Unknown.
Yeah, it's
No worries.
it's a Jersey City picture.
This one could be another unknown. This one looks really old.
That's Jersey. Oh, let me see. I think I know who he is. My grandparents had friends that were originally from Denmark, and we used to go see this guy, Carl Anderson, and his wife. And this looks like it may be Carl Anderson, who had lived out somewhere around here, but at the time, around here was all farm and what have you, So I think that might be kind of.
All right, this guy's been like, we have more information on this guy than we do Harry, which is unfortunate. But this is a really cool shot. Super cool shot.
And that's Joe Machen, of course. Oh, there it is spelled out. And this probably was at Fort Dix.
There's more shots of that guy than there are your dad.
Yeah, I think
Phew.
that's Fort Dix.
That's a shame. I wish I had more information on Harry than I did Joe. No offense to you, Joe.
But
Thank
Harry
you for your
was-
service, buddy.
Harry was taking all the pictures, so.
So this one is Frankfurt. Looks like another classic marine pic from Frankfurt. I don't know if you have groceries in your hand. I didn't take a close look at
Yeah,
that.
that's what it is. I've been to the store,
Okay.
and I came back with some of our groceries.
See if there's any relevance to this wedding shot.
Oh, shoot. I don't know whether this possibly because I can't see him. He's behind the cake. But this might have been Aunt Lillian and Uncle Walter's wedding.
Oh, there you go.
That I was part of.
Oh, wow.
Might be.
Oh, the ring bearer one.
Yeah.
Okay. This is another Marine Day one. It says Andre, Jim, Bill, and Jack taxi cab
Yeah,
all
you're
day.
already, that's,
This is the one where you hired the guy.
yeah, that's his tax.
$1.50 and a carton of smokes. You didn't smoke cigarettes, did you, Dad?
No, but that was a black market thing. That
Oh.
See, you were allowed. They allowed you so many cartons, and I didn't smoke, so I would get the cartons, and we would use them for bargaining.
Oh, there you go. Bartering. The Arc de Triomphe in Paris. Around Paris, 1957. Another one from those days. We're going to leap to this one because this... we're going to get into the newer generation. And I want Mom around for that so she can participate. So this is all Dad stuff. This looks like cemetery of one of your grandparents, perhaps.
Yeah, I think if you could zero in.
It says Sorensen on it.
Yeah, that's my grandparents up in Fairview Cemetery,
Fairview Cemetery in
Westfield.
Westfield.
Yeah,
Oh wow.
yeah. See, Art has a plot 100 yards away, at least, just about 100 yards away.
But that's not where your parents are, right? Is it?
No, my parents are in a tomb type thing down in Tom's River.
Right.
But this is in this Fairview Cemetery, and Art has got to have at least 12 grave sites.
Right.
And my sister's in one.
Oh wow.
Her brother-in-law who got killed by being hit by a car, Artie's brother. It has Art's mother and father.
It's one of my granddad's earlier boats. Probably his first one. Again, we're getting into the newer stuff. This isn't the classic stuff.
I think this might be the same one that I was telling you about him taken through the ice.
Yeah. Oh, okay. That's the one thing that I...
I think that's where he's trying to make it an icebreaker.
Okay.
Kathy McGrath was one of three members of the McGrath family who lived in Cranford, a number of houses up, that I don't know how her mother and my mother became friends, but they became very friendly with us. And that Kathy had a real tragedy when she was in her bed as a baby. Somehow a hot water humidifier got knocked over, and she had her side of her face was just a bunch of ugly scars, but she was a pretty girl.
Aww.
And her sister's name was Dorothy. Her brother's name was Ken. And it's sad, but the father was an accountant, and he got a transfer to Michigan, the upper peninsula of Michigan. They moved out there, and I ran into Dorothy at a school reunion and got to take on it. And her brother Ken, who married probably the most attractive and popular girl in his high school class, had been working as a roofer and fell off.
Oh.
I think he got killed.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Her last name was McKenzie. Patty McKenzie was her. So
Okay.
they've had a lot of tragedy.
Oh, a lot of tragedy in that family.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's any relevance to this picture. Looks like a vacation place, perhaps.
Yeah, it looks like, I I don't know what that building would contain.
Okay. This looks like some sort of wedding or...
Okay, this includes part of that Anderson family. This girl over here on the right, her name was Selma Anderson, and they were part of a family, like I said, that my grandfather, I don't know whether he came over here from Denmark or somehow they had a relationship, maybe just friends, of somebody from Denmark, and we used to visit their family, and evidently this might have been, in fact I'm sure, this was at a family wedding, and I don't know whose wedding it was, but I think I see my sister, I see myself, I see my mother.
Oh, wow.
Right here.
Okay.
And this is a gal named Selma Anderson.
Oh, wow, okay. Looks like you were maybe 11 or 12, maybe, somewhere
Well,
in
I
there?
don't know if you could tell whether or not I'm in a blue uniform. It might be part of that big
Oh, the
wedding.
same wedding. Yeah, probably,
Okay.
probably. There's an interesting introspective shot of Isabel, mom. Standing, looking out.
That's probably, it might either be Keensburg, or it might be Seabright, or it might be
That's beautiful.
Point Pleasant.
There you go. All right, we're going to sign off for now. We might be back, but thanks, Dad.
Yeah.
All right, so we just found this review of my dad as a salesman. He got a 91 on this testing situation here from May 12th, 1959. And he's going to explain him. It has to do with Coke machines and vending. When you were going to Stetson, is that?
Yeah, it was
Stetson University in DeLand, Florida.
1959. And see, I married your mother in November of 57. November the 1st, 1957 was the date we got married.
Hold on one sec. I'm sorry. Okay, I just asked Mom, Mary Lita, if she wanted to come in and join the discussion of Stetson and DeLand and my dad's job here, but she's resting. So you were saying, Dad, you were... So what brought you down to Florida? You wanted to be a pilot and you wanted to go to Embry-Riddle?
Yeah, well, that started it out, and then I found out I could not pass the colorblind test because I am colorblind, and being a pilot in those days, you should be able to read flashing lights to tell you to
right,
go
landing
on or
and
whatever,
taking off.
And it was necessary in order to get a license that you could do that. And there was, a couple guys were talking about helping me out, giving me the book that they use to determine you're colorblind or not. But I didn't think it'd be wise to base a whole career on something I
cheated?
yeah,
A lie.
I could be, 4 or 5 years into flight program, and all of a sudden they caught me.
Well,
I-
or you
I
could wreck a
lose it.
plane and that wouldn't be good.
Yeah. So anyway, I came up with Stetson because they were doing a big honor thing in welcoming vets, and so they offered discounts and everything else to bring vets into their program. So I signed on for it, and it was crazy because I got detached from the Marine Corps on September 14th, 1957. I was starting school in DeLand about September 16th or something. So my parents, we drove down and got me in there. I lived off the campus, and that was in September. And my wife and I got married November the 1st, 1957. It was my insistence on the 1st, so I would never forget my anniversary date. So that's when we got married. And she moved down from Baltimore, and she was good in doing a lot of typing, and she had gone through a Catholic school training for secretaries, and she was very sharp, very good typist. And so when she went looking for jobs in DeLand in 1957, our paying rate was extremely low. They were as low as 50 cents, 75 cents an hour. But she took a job, and she went through a few, and I don't remember if this was early in her career working down there or not, but she did take a job working at the local Coca-Cola bottling plant, where they had maybe 3 or 4 trucks that she had to check them out in the morning.
Was that the Root family's business?
Yeah, that was a side of the Root family. Root family owned, and Root family was from the person that designed the Coca-Cola bottle.
What happened was Coke threw out a challenge to bottlers of who could make, from my understanding, a bottle that anybody would recognize from like a distance, but also by feel, and a novel bottle, and apparently the Root family won the contract.
You could tell by a broken bottle that's smithered to smithereens that
it was a Coke bottle, yeah.
That was the perimeters.
Yeah.
And he was from somewhere, I want to say around Indiana, and he came up with a deal, and as a reward to him, they gave him the distributorship. Of course, I think he was living in Norman, and they gave him the distributorship for Daytona Beach, which included the land. And so the bottling company in the land and Daytona Beach were connected. And eventually they did away with the land by shipping in from the Daytona packaging plant. But in the beginning, the land had its own 4 or 5 trucks, and she would check out the load they went out, and then count the money when they came back in to make sure they matched up with the load they went out. She acted as the receptionist, answering all the phone calls and doing all that secretarial work.
Right.
And through her, I would drive her down to work and pick her up. She wasn't driving. So I became friends with the guy managing the DeLand place, and then his boss. His boss came up with an idea that if they could put more machines into hotels and motels along the ocean front in Daytona Beach, it would equivalent to so many more bottles of Coke being sold. So he asked me, would I sign on and go to all these hotels and motels and beach places? And so I did. I would drive down every morning from DeLand to Daytona. I think it was 27 miles. And I would park, and I would take a pickup truck, and then I would go out with my catalog. We go hit these different places and sell them Coke machines. So that's all it was about. I did it for the summer. That was my summer job. And I don't remember what I was paid. I was paid little and then got commissions, but that's what I did.
And you also worked, if I remember correctly, as a hearse driver for some of the North Turn races up at the beach in
Well,
the 50s?
In those days, there was no ambulance service per se. Ambulances were part of a funeral home. And I worked in a funeral home that had an ambulance. And of course, all the ambulances in the area were working to get exposure at Daytona Beach. So my group got, I don't know, they got one of the curve, the end curve going from macadam to sand. There was a big,
Oh, okay. You only had, you were allocated to one curve.
yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
interesting.
You sat there waiting for a wreck and pick up.
Do you remember how much activity? I didn't mean to interrupt you, but was there activity? Did
Yeah,
you?
there was, because
And a car would
they
flip
were-
and a guy would get a
they-
busted arm or
yeah.
something?
Yeah, well, a couple of them would flip trying to make that corner,
Sure.
hitting the sand too fast. You would have to take them across the street to Halifax Hospital, and that's where you take them and they do the repair work.
And anything gruesome, or do you remember any?
They're mostly broken arms, legs, stuff like that.
Yeah, they were moving at a pretty good clip going into
Oh,
that
yeah.
north turn, and then they make the turn.
The turn down into the water was the one that was interesting.
And you were what part of that track? You said what it
On
was?
the corner, we would sit
On the south or the
inside.
north?
No, in the inside on the south. The south was.
Oh,
where-
really? So where
where-
A1A went
Yeah.
into the beach, that
Yeah,
corner
yeah,
there?
Where it curved out of macadam.
Okay.
It would be going real fast.
Sure.
And miss that curve sometimes.
Sure.
Some of them would go out in the harder sand, some wouldn't.
Now, how long did you do that for? Was that a while or just a little gig you did?
It was whatever the Daytona 500 was.
But I mean, were you there for a year? Were you there 2
It
years?
was about 2 years.
2 years.
Yeah.
And you were, so when you didn't make it as a pilot, you went to Stetson University.
Yeah, and then I got the job with these guys, and I kicked around the idea of going into what do you call it, Montreal Science or some damn thing. And at that time, he had two wannabes, and I was willing to wait for one of them to leave because they went through so many years of exposure working for this guy.
And I'm sorry, what was the sales for again? What was that
What's
gig?
that?
What was the gig that you were waiting for?
Oh, Undertaker.
Oh, Undertaker.
Yeah. I worked in the Undertaker for about
Oh,
2
wow.
years.
Wow.
And my job was to ride with them out to wrecks and everything else. Or he'd wake me up in the middle of the night, we'd have an ambulance call.
Wow.
I had a spot on New York Avenue
Wow.
where I would go out under the light and he would pull up, and then with the ambulance and we would race on and pick up, dead people, and pick up, a lot of times it was picking up bodies from wrecks. They used to compete. There was another funeral home called Summerhill, and he and Clyde Langford ran a place called Colonial Funeral Home, and he was a little, he was independent businessman, but he was hurting. But anyway, it was funny, not really not funny, it was sad, that we would race to wrecks and be more interested in the dead than we were the alive,
Aw.
because it represented opportunity to go through a whole burial.
Oh.
So
Well, that's
what
wrong.
I remember different instances where different bodies would come in, different experiences of the ambulance. I remember one time picking up this lady, and I had to sit in the back of her, and all she did was complain. She was terrible. We took her in a hospital. A few days later, I went into work, and I went into the preparation room. That's where you had the body on the slab, and you were putting formaldehydes in your system. And the guy said to me, one of the kids that was learning to be in the business, he said, "Do you recognize her?" I said, "Yeah, she looks a little familiar." He says, "That's the one you were saying was a complainer." And he said, "Let me show you." And he took my hand and rubbed it down her thigh, and you felt all the calluses of cancer.
Oh.
Cancer makes the callus-like.
Oh.
And that's what it was.
Oh.
So she was bad shape from cancer, and here I was calling her a complaint.
Oh.
So,
Yeah, at least you own it now.
and then the other case that strikes a real on memory was in Florida. The Florida State Troopers each had their own cars, so they would go home at night with their police car in case they got cold. So it seems as though one of them was out on duty in the middle of the afternoon, and his wife put the baby in the crib to take a nap, and then ran across the street, supposedly to borrow something from her girlfriend neighbor. And when she came back, the kid had gotten up and got the Venetian blind cord trapped around its neck,
Oh.
and it killed him.
Oh.
So this guy, who I was working for, the guy that owned the funeral home, did it, no money. He went ahead and he took the kid and put him in a coffin, put a rattle in his hands,
Oh.
the whole 9 yards.
Oh.
And then there was a line of state troopers' cars from everywhere in front of the funeral home, and they were coming in.
Oh, that's a sad one. That's a super sad one. Whew.
These guys were breaking down after being on old wrecks and everything else.
Right.
So, anyway, that was a funeral I won't forget. Another one we had was an old baseball player that was living alone and somehow fell down between the toilet and the tub and smacked his head
Oh.
and never got up and laid there for 4 or 5 days before somebody checked on him.
Oh.
So we had to pick him up, big man, and it was pretty smelly.
Oh.
So, different things came up,
I wonder-
especially with the ambulance. First one was the ambulance was a couple times guys would be half in the car and half out
Oh.
and dragged along the cement.
Oh.
That was a mess.
Oh.
So,
Well, those old cars, man, they were beasts too, and they weren't. I mean, obviously, nothing was
the
safety oriented back in the
driving down
day.
there, all the rednecks, was,
Well, that's
Daytona,
that's the
Land.
birthplace of speed, Dad.
Oh God, they all had their,
Birthplace of
they all
speed.
had their trucks and rifle
Oh
racks
yeah.
and long neck beers and
Oh heck yeah. Well, I know quite a bit about the NASCAR mentality. They lived every day to the fullest because they didn't know whether there would be another day. So, all right, I'm gonna.
another one we had, but just quickly,
Okay.
we took a body out to a home, which was most of the funerals at that date were starting to come where people were celebrating the death or whatever you want to call it, mourning the death by going to a funeral home. But this was an old Southern Baptist family, and this was the leader of the family, and they insisted on having the body in one of their houses,
Oh.
which was no more than a shack. And we took the body out there and laid it out, and every so often we had to go back and straighten the guy out because they were hugging him and
Oh my
what a
God.
me- what a mess it was.
Oh,
They'd
gosh.
go in there and they'd be hanging all over the store.
Oh no.
You'd have
Oh.
to straighten them out and wipe off the lipstick.
Oh
It
no.
was a hell of an experience.
Oh my God.
It was
How macabre.
Oh,
Oh.
it was a hell of an experience.
Wow. I'll say. Burned in your memory forever.
Oh, I was down there in the land.
But what was it? 58, 59, 60?
57, 58, 59.
Okay.
I was working all kinds of jobs.
Wow.
I was using the wax buffer on floors. I was doing, what do you call that job, in the restaurants where I have to go clean the tables. And
A waiter. A busser. Busboy.
I did the busboy routine. That was a horror show because I spent all day and worked real late into the night. And then they went ahead and they took tips that the girls left for the busboys and had it divided up. And there was like 2 or 3 of us. And the girls didn't leave any tip to talk about. So when at the end of the day, they were gone, and we finally got our break on the tips, but like $2 or $3 for us.
Whoa.
The whole damn day. It
Oh.
was the worst job you could ever have.
Oh. What town was that in DeLand or was that
Yeah,
in Daytona?
DeLand.
That was in DeLand.
To land, try to think of the name of the restaurant, but
Yeah.
makes me
All right, I'm going to sign off now.
good.